Hello, East Africa. This is your world, and it continues to change by the day as you continue to adjust to your new normal. We're here to keep you company and share useful tips, expertise, and experiences from different places. We've looked at how COVID-19 has affected many sectors of the economy and how the people involved are coping with it all. Today, we turn the spotlight on the world of events and the creative industry. Good morning. My name is Joseph Warungu, and on the menu,
but this time, there's just going to be a microphone as the audience.
And still to come, events have been shut down since the day COVID-19 was declared a pandemic. How can we bring them back safely? That's what we'll try and find out today. Going forward, this might be the future of events, including national ones.
You talk to him. I don't think I'm getting through.
If some careers were dismissed as non-essential, just like the arts, what would that look like? These sporting events are slowly starting to come back, but in what shape? This morning, we're asking you, between weddings, concerts, nyama choma hangouts, get-togethers, and clubbing, which event do you miss the most? Okay, once more, we're asking you, between events such as weddings, hangouts, concerts, nyama choma, get-togethers, clubbing, which of these do you miss the most? But before all of that, let's have a look at the spread of COVID-19 in our region and the world at large. First of all, the global picture. And as at this morning, we have 6,698,615 people who've been confirmed positive for COVID-19 around the globe. Of these, 3,249,457 people around the world have been confirmed positive for COVID-19. And 393,142 have sadly passed on as a result of COVID-19. That's the global picture. Coming to our Republic of Kenya, this is the situation at the moment. We have so far tested 80,052 people as at today. Of these, 2,021 people have been confirmed positive for COVID-19. 482 have recovered, and 69 people in Kenya have died as a result of the disease. Looking across the region to other parts of the East Africa community, this is the situation as it stands. In Tanzania, we have 509 people who've been confirmed positive for COVID-19. And again, these figures have hardly moved in the last few weeks. 21 people in Tanzania have died. 183 have recovered from the disease. In Ethiopia, the figures stand at 1,486 people who've been confirmed positive for COVID-19. 17 people in Ethiopia have died. 246 have recovered from the disease. Across other parts of the greater Eastern Africa region, in Somalia, 2,089 confirmed positive cases of COVID-19. 79 people have died in Somalia. 361 have recovered from COVID-19. In South Sudan, the numbers stand at 994 confirmed positive cases. 10 people have so far been reported who have died in South Sudan, and those recovered, the number stands at 6 in South Sudan. Across the west in Uganda, we have 621 people in Uganda who have been confirmed positive for COVID-19. Of these, 82 have recovered, And so far, no one has reported to have died in Uganda as a result of COVID-19. In Rwanda, the numbers stand at 384 confirmed positive cases of COVID-19. 2 people in Rwanda have been reported to have died, while 269 have died. Across the border in Burundi, it's 63 people who've been confirmed positive for COVID-19. 1 person in Burundi has been reported to have died, and 33 have so far recovered. That's how it looks across our region, across the world, as COVID-19 continues to spread across the globe. Now today, we'll look at how events and the people behind them have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. One of our big national days is Madaraka Day. Now, it's usually marked with celebrations in different parts of the country that attract huge crowds. But this year, the event was very different. The key celebrations were originally planned for Kisii, but COVID-19 changed it all. The main celebrations in Kisii were cancelled and replaced by a much smaller event at State House in Nairobi involving only a handful of people. Prayers were held virtually and everyone had to have a face mask on. Sharon Baranga reports.
State House, Nairobi was the venue of this year's Madaraka Day celebrations. Unlike previous year's national celebrations, which were marked in stadiums full of people and similar events held in all the counties, this year's Madaraka Day had no such freedoms. Only a few people received the invitation to attend the event held at State House.
Let us pray.
Prayers were also held virtually. There were no choirs to entertain the guests and only recorded ones played. Police officers from different departments entertained the guests. A majority of Kenyans joined the celebrations at home through TVs and radios. And in another first, Major General Robert Kibochi accompanied him for his inaugural time since he took office as Chief of Defence Forces. What was also unique about these 57th Madaraka celebrations is that everyone who showed up for the event had to take the COVID-19 test first. Everyone, including the President, wore a face mask. The First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta, and the Deputy President's wife, Rachel Ruto, were in attendance. They sat together apart at a balcony. But not all the culture was washed away. The armed forces flew their planes in salute to the President.
In preparation to respond to the post-COVID-19, county governments are reviewing their CIDPs and their annual development plans, re-engineering their 2020-2021 budgets to fit into the National Economic Stimulus Program.
This corona moment we are in, yes, indeed, a dark moment. But the founders of our nation required us to be at our very best at moments like this. And this demand is not a lofty ideal. They themselves practiced it as they fought to bring us self-rule.
Some of the counties held smaller celebration functions. The leadership of Vihiga County celebrated John Zenze, who hails from the county, who passed on, adding a twist to the meeting.
Recently, under the Jubilee government, every county is given a chance to host a national event. This time round, it was Kisii County's turn to host the Madaraka Day, but the arrangement was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sharon Baranga, NTV, Nairobi.
Now, in sickness and in health, this might be the most pertinent and terrifying of all wedding vows in the time of COVID-19, as couples had to find innovative ways to formalize their unions, and the Office of the Attorney General shelved a number of wedding plans. But now, for better or worse, love is possible again, as the Office of the Attorney General plans to reopen marriage services at Sharia House. This is, however, subject to approval by the Ministry of Health and to adherence to coronavirus safety tips. Ngina Kirori has the details.
Veronica and Jerry quickly went from wanting every detail of her wedding day to be perfect to becoming excited just at the prospect of getting married to her fiancé, Francis Gitonga. It was a brief and tender church ceremony with only a small reserve of wedding guests.
Niliachieve kenye nilikuwa nataka because I just needed a man to marry me. So, and a man who will love me. I just needed those, despite having those others, flower girls and that bridal party, what is most required is a man to marry me.
In a time increasingly marked by isolation, couples have had to find ways to make their unions possible, including zooming their way down the aisle and sharing the special moments with their loved ones online. Others have had to shelve their plans to adhere to social distancing, as had the Registrar of Marriages at the Office of the Attorney General, who was overwhelmed by the number of those seeking marriage services.
I give you this ring.
But the wedding bells may be ringing again soon, as the Office of the Attorney General considers reopening the service, should it get the green light from the Ministry of Health.
The Ministry of Health did visit the Registrar of Marriages and went around the whole place, and they made recommendations that we have been able to put in place so that we can be able to get them come back and give us the go-ahead to open.
Should the couples choose to walk down the aisle at the Office of the Attorney General, they will commit to a new string of measures.
We are only going to have 4 people allowed in when a marriage is being conducted. The couple that is getting married and the witnesses. And then the 5th person will be the Registrar of Marriages.
The ceremonies will also take place in an open-air environment as opposed to the traditional office setting. Prior to the pandemic, couples had to file a notice in order to conduct the marriage, which would then happen within 90 days.
Only 22 cases have not expired. Their timeline of 90 days, only 22 marriages have not expired. The remaining 793, the period of 90 days has expired. So what will happen is that those couples will have to reapply.
The 793 will, however, not be required to pay the 3,900 bob application fee again. However, there is also a backlog of 1,754 couples who applied to the Registrar of Marriages. These couples were set to have their ceremonies conducted under the Christian or Hindu faith, but with the threat of the virus, the vows had to be put on hold. Those wishing to submit new applications can do so online through the online e-citizen platform.
Wedding bells may be heard here, but with a health pandemic, through sickness and through health has tested even the strongest of couples. But with the announcement from the AG's office that they will consider reopening the offices for marriage, these couples have been offered a glimmer of hope. The announcement from the Ministry of Health on Monday will, however, affirm this as they wait to see whether they can say I do to each other. Gena Kerori, NTV.
Okay, and just before we get into our guests and the discussion, I just want to update our numbers for Kenya because the figure I gave you has not included the statistics or the numbers that were shared yesterday by the CS for Health. So in Kenya, at the moment, is 592 people who have recovered from COVID-19, and 78 people in Kenya have sadly died as a result of the disease. So today, we focus on what this disease has done to the world of events, entertainment, the creative industry. And with me are a number of people who are in that predicament. I'll start with my guest here in the studio, Chris Kirwa. Good morning and welcome to your world.
Morning. It's good to be here.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Chris, we last met many years ago at the start of my career at KBC.
Yes.
I see you're keeping strong.
We are.
Okay. Now, let me go around and talk to the other people as we come back.
Yes.
We also have Dina Maina, who is a wedding planner. Good morning, Dina. Hello, Dina. As I get to... You can hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Very well. Good morning again. Welcome to your world.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, you'll be telling us in a minute how your world has been affected by the pandemic that we're in. But we also have Yafesi Musoke, who is an artist, a comedian, and a member of the cast of, Just Because You Said So. Good morning, Yafesi. Welcome to your world.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, stay on the line. We'll chat more in a moment. We have a prominent photographer, very well known to some of us here at the National Media Group. Festo Lang, good morning. Welcome to your world.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me, man.
Okay, great. and because of social and physical distancing in our other studio in the newsroom, we're also joined by Maria Nkumba, who is an event planner from the Expedia agency. Maria, good morning.
Good morning.
You can hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Maria, a quick one for you. Before we get into the business of it all, how has COVID-19 changed your own personal world?
For me, it's definitely changed my world to the better. Having a 6-year-old has definitely helped me to spend more time with her and to be able to bond with her in a more close and personal level, and definitely to be present as a mother. So I've chosen to look at it as a positive more than a negative.
Okay. Aside from business, though, has there been any downsides?
Most definitely, yes. In terms of business, as we know, the events industry has been the most hit. We are all about social gatherings. We are social beings. So that has definitely been affected in a big way, and not being able to do that we are passionate about has not been easy as well.
Okay, we'll get into the detail of that in a moment. Dina, to you as well. How has your world changed as a result of COVID-19?
Okay, thank you very much. So on a personal note, as during COVID, the government directives are social distancing, stay at home. So I've had time to spend time with my family and bond more with my daughter. But at the same time, business-wise, there's no business. So yes, income zero, literally. Postponed events indefinitely. So yeah, that's how it has changed my world.
Okay, Paule, we'll hear more about that. What about you, Festo? At a personal level, what's been the impact of COVID-19 on your life?
Basically, this thing has affected everyone. And on my personal level, everything from social, financial, basically just everything has been affected by this COVID-19. And man, things are just getting worse each and every day. So we hope things will get better.
Okay, and Yafesi, good morning again. How has your world changed?
Wow. Apart from the obvious, as you just heard from Dina, the events have stopped. There's income is at zero. And it's not just the events, but it's actually the diversity of what surrounds those events that has been cut off. So even behind the scenes, preparations for the events, because you're also involved in some of that, whether it's emceeing, scripting, being on stage, organizing things around that, whether it's advertising or things to do with all that. All of them have been cut short. And on top of that, the previous work that you had done, yeah, the accountants are all saying, unajua ni COVID. So, yeah.
Okay, that's a familiar refrain from a lot of people. Now, if you're watching, and in case you're not familiar with what Yafesi Musoke actually does, I had trouble asking him, how do I describe you're a comedian, you're a scriptwriter, you're a this, but because you said so. Now, here's a short preview of their creative genius. To describe it in a shallow way, it's an impromptu comedy. That means unrehearsed acting.
Gangaton videos be like, if you know, you know. Utaniwa.
Yo, representing.
Oh, yo.
Cheki.
Yeah.
Kuna kitu ya kusema. Maze, cheki ule dem.
All of you. Okay, all of you are talking.
That's okay, all right.
Wewe shiro toa panty.
Zimenishika yo. Zimenishika yo.
Kaa upendi bangi, we ni mtoto wa shetani.
Okay, I want to see.
Yeah.
Ule unatingisha kichwa.
Okay.
Sawa. Haya, 1, 2, 3, go. Aziwenda home. Bado Buddha ishia. Go home. Class. I want you to emulate him. Kichwa lazima ikue side. Alafu, very nice. Thank you very all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, Yafesi, in case you missed that, we are watching a bit of fun there from you. Do you miss being on stage?
Yes, I miss stage now that you've shown us twerking on national TV. But yeah, I miss the stage. I miss just I think it's the energy between the audience. Because one of the things about Because You Said So, because it's unscripted, the audience gets to actually control the direction of the show. And so it puts us on toes. That adrenaline, yeah, I kind of miss that.
Oh, okay. How else is this affecting you? What else has, I suppose when you do this stuff on Zoom, it's not quite the same.
Definitely. Because first of all, the different platforms, if you want to do live events, because one thing we have to realize, artists who go on stage and do live performances, interacting with the audiences, apart from the other businesses that benefit from that, you know, the vendors and all the other, like the transport business and the cabs, there's also, not every artist who goes on stage will be the same or give you the same flavor when they're on screen. And so there's also the reaction, you're on screen, and then someone puts lol after 10 seconds. So you're like, it's quiet around you. You're just hoping someone is watching, and you're hoping you're funny, you're hoping you're entertaining. But at the same time, you know, setups, if your internet is weak, you crack a joke and you're like, you know, and then you're waiting for laughter and no one heard anything you said.
Oh, okay. And what's the role of an audience for a performer? What kind of energy do you get from a live audience, especially?
In a sense, the audience is like a co-author of the work, because you come with the material, you present it to the audience, they accept it and they enhance it by their reactions or their laughter or even throwing suggestions. And so it builds up into something big that you both own. And so by the end of the event, the audience feels like they contributed to something. They weren't just sitting back like watching a movie. They were actually part of it, and they also influenced the direction you took. And they felt heard, they felt represented. So that's one of the biggest differences between live and watching it on a screen.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Stay with us. We will talk about this a little bit more. Dina, let me come to you. You're a wedding planner. Are people really getting married?
Yes, people are still getting married, but we've reduced the numbers, of course. But as you've heard from the registrar office, they had closed the process of registering the marriages. So that also has affected a lot. At the same time, as a wedding planner, you're there to coordinate activities. So if we have 15 people attending a wedding, sincerely, there's not much of coordination required, and the wedding should run below 2 hours. So very little of me is required in a small 15 people wedding taking place in less than 2 hours. So in terms of business, there's no business in that environment. But at the same time, yes, people are still getting married.
So give me a sense of when you are at your best, quite busy, how busy did you get in terms of planning these weddings?
During COVID or before COVID?
Before COVID, when things were really good.
Oh, before COVID, we'd have even 3 weddings a week because people were adapting to weddings during the weekdays. And going from that to 0 is something we are still changing and adapting to, and just embracing the new change. Because honestly, as Yafesi has said, there's a lot of energy even in ensuring that an event is successful. That's where I draw my happiness, if I should. And therefore, that missing is something else that you have to find. I have to find something else to fill in that gap in my life.
And how are you doing that?
Oh yeah, I'm a part-time farmer now. I'm a full-time farmer. So yes, that is my way of adapting to the new changes in my life.
Okay. Thanks, Dina. Now, Maria, over to you. You organize corporate conferences and these kind of things, brand launches. So what's happening to that bit of your business?
For us, as Dina said, a lot of events have been put on hold and postponed indefinitely. So not a lot happening in that space, but of course you still find a lot of people moving into the digital space. So hence now people are saying our industry will now be phygital. So we'll need to adapt the physical and the digital element of it. So a lot of digital presence, a lot of webinars, a lot of Zoom events. So that's where that has moved. But in terms of conferencing, we are not yet there yet. So we find like for us, we had lined up conferences. So the clients are still telling us we'll just have to hold indefinitely until things get back to normal. But it's definitely still, we don't know when. So it's still indefinite.
Again, before COVID came along, how busy were you?
We are very busy. As you know, conferences take a long time in terms of planning. So it takes maybe, one conference can take about a month or two. So we'd have maybe 2 to 3 conferences lined up in a span of 1 or 2 months. So we are very, very busy.
How much warning did you get that things were going to fall apart?
Wow, I would say close to none, as we actually had one event which was cancelled 2 days to the big conference. So when the announcement was made that there's a first case in Kenya, the client had to cancel the event.
Okay. Festo, what about you? How did things, or have things fallen apart for you?
Yeah, man. You know, as a photographer who mostly depends on events, you know, corporate functions and all that. We were just, you know, caught off guard. Everything shut down. We had so many events cancelled. Like personally, I had about 5 weddings cancelled. So that means those are 5 weddings that you had already been paid deposit for, and for me to preserve my business and my name that I built for some time, we had to, you know, refund the deposit that was paid, and hoping that we can pick up again those events in future when all this is, or when this is all over. But as far as work is concerned, there are no events. What you're getting is just, you know, just some small businesses here and there, some personal shoots, pregnancy, you know, baby bump shoots and all that. And that's all for now. And that's like just one in a week. So
okay,
it's quite difficult.
Na sasa Festo, wakati biashara ilikuwa poa, mambo yalikuwaje?
No, kulikuwa poa because we had tulikuwa na multiple shoots every week. So unapata like every weekend we have a wedding, or we have a different corporate event. We have you know, people coming up with you know, I have this startup, can you come and join in? We do this thing. So every week we had things to do. We had about 4 or 5 different shoots.
Okay. Now, here in the studio, thank you Festo, tutarudi kwako. Kirwa,
yes.
How has life changed for you and, you know, your line of work? You're an MC, you organize events.
I think since February, this is the first time I've actually dressed up and woken up.
Event yako ya kwanza.
This is an event. I'm actually excited. When I was driving on the road,
I've also dressed for the event, as you can imagine.
Because once you've set up an event, most of the time you dress up.
Yeah.
But now it's been, you know, those promotional T-shirts and some sneakers, and that's it. So from what my colleagues are saying, I think they've just summarized where we are. So from the high, for us, the high is when at 3 a.m., when a big concert is happening, everybody is happy, the artists are performing, the client is giving you high fives because it succeeded, it's met the expectations. That is the high for us, because we know we will be paid. We know once we get paid, everybody else who is, we know, third-party suppliers and all those setup people and everyone that depends on the events industry will be happy. Now from that high to one day you wake up and the client is asking you for a refund of the money they had paid you to be able to coordinate the event. Others have already been cancelled completely. And then we were discussing with one of my colleagues when we met at the reception, and you were saying, you see, the problem with this is that we do not have a clear, definite timeline that says we will be okay from this time.
So you can't even plan?
You can't plan. It's very hard. But when you started this, you talked about people. And when we speak about it, when me and you are healthy here, you speak about cases, then you speak about the unfortunate deaths. Those are people. So with that in mind, again, we have to be very, very cautious how we approach the going back to normal as events industry. Maybe the wedding industry is a bit lucky. They are doing 15 people. Us, we've not done even 2 people because nothing, completely. From January, we have not done any event. So that's
As
the
an
situation.
MC, you've not been on stage
No,
for how many weeks?
I think this is the first emceeing job I'm doing. It
Okay.
shouldn't be paid, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Asante. Now, pianist Stephen Howe rehearses inside an empty concert hall at the Wigmore Hall in central London, one of Britain's leading classical music venues, ahead of a piano recital on June the 1st. The first of a series of live concerts announced by the venue. A total of 20 concerts lasting up to an hour each will be broadcast live on BBC Radio and on live stream around the world from Monday as the United Kingdom eases out of lockdown measures.
This is what I would do the morning of a concert. I'd be on stage alone and playing away and trying the piano. But this time there's just going to be a microphone as the audience. And that will feel a little bit strange, I think, but so much better than playing from home. Because concert is theatre, you know, it's not really just someone playing the piano, it's actually an event.
Well, first of all, there's a very minimal staff on duty. One engineer for Wigmore Hall, one producer for BBC. The presenter will sit halfway back the hall, and we've been very careful as well in only using soloists or duos for this particular series. And they'll be socially distanced backstage and on stage, and all of the proper hygiene and sanitation requirements, down to disinfecting the piano post-tuning. Well, I think it's been a terrible deprivation, and especially for musicians, because if this crisis continues until September, many will not have earned for 6 months. And audiences and musicians are crying out for that wonderful experience of live performance.
Yeah, firstly, I'm not sure whether you've seen that this one man, a grand piano, an empty auditorium. This must be a very lonely life for performers like yourself.
Yeah, it can be. Now, depending, of course, on how many types of stages you've done, because I've also been in performances when you're starting out, you have everything. Life is normal, but only 4 people attend your event. And yet you still have to put on a performance as if there are 500 people in the audience. But when it comes to a screen, like I said, it's a bit impersonal. The screen doesn't react. And if you do have reactions like a live chat or anything, it can be 25 seconds later. And so the synchrony or the synchronization is it can throw you off if you're not experienced.
So we discussed how Zoom may not be the way to do it. How are you adapting to your new normal, EFSC?
Well, first of all, there's such a thing as screen fatigue. Everything is on screen. Everything is on Zoom. But you also adapt, because if that's the only way you're going to be able to reach out to the people, because one of the things you don't want is, at the end of this entire experience, you don't want your audience thinking you don't care about them, whether it's about their safety or even about their entertainment, their needs for some form of entertainment. So you come up with new ways, try and do something, like I started a YouTube channel. There's some work I also put out there in writing, things that people can access. So you try and give some of your talents they may not even be aware of. So if you can play a guitar, you sing them a song if they've never seen that. Or if you can do something on something online, do a video, something like that. Not everything has to be a live event, but you do have to stay in touch with your audience. And also, as Chris mentioned, because we don't know when this is ending, it's so hard to plan. And yet at the same time, if suddenly the government says, like if miraculously everything is like, okay, there's no more COVID, let's open up. Some artists will find themselves in a bit of a sticky situation because you're unfit now. Physically, you've been eating your own things. And yet when you're at the height of your performance regimen, you are really disciplined about your eating and your exercise and everything. Right now, you've just been lying there. You have new guests in your lower abdomen region. You're just, yeah. So it can, you just have to stay sharp in some way. You deliberately have to push yourself, and it is harder. You have to recognize that it is harder to do that.
I feel your face and I see what you're doing to actually stay sane and stay fit and keep away those unwelcome guests in your lower abdomen. Now, Yafesi Musoke and his wife Joyce Musoke are exemplary actors, and they've have this very fresh YouTube channel, as I mentioned, that looks at life from a different perspective. They're both artists, and when in the arts, you get to hear a number of tarnishing comments to the career path you have chosen. Simply put, unafanya acting, utakula nini, enda usome ukwe daktari. Well, you know, they've reversed the roles, and now they're looking down in a comical way on other careers.
What is this you're doing?
Banker. Unataka kwenda kufanya kazi kwa bank with all that education.
Listen, I know you see them wearing suits, see them getting loans, going and doing professional courses, and you think, wow, that is so cool and everything. But if a banker landed at the airport, who is going to come and pick you up?
Who? Nobody.
But if someone like Beyonce landed at the airport, or Rihanna, she landed, you know, the country will come to a standstill. Everyone will stop what they're doing. Come to you with your network portfolio. Which crowd are you going to pull with your portfolio?
Listen, it is good to have a hobby. Yeah? Even me, I have hobbies. You do have hobbies.
Yeah.
We have hobbies. Yeah. But we do them on Saturdays. Kama your banking yako, by the way, you can do it. It is good if it helps you relax. You can do your banking on Saturdays. You can do banking on Sundays, in your free time, I'm at a public holidays.
Yes.
Yeah?
Because seriously, how do you expect to get your first million if this is how you are behaving? Like your cousin, already has what, 5 million followers. Kila kitu ni pesa.
Okay, sasa ulimjipanga ati essential services, umesikia Chris, you are laughing away. What's your reaction?
I love the fact that now the creative industry is being seen to be the industry. Because for a very long time, obviously, you are told, okay, I know you want to follow that career path, but soma kwanza, get a degree. Then once you've done, then come now and focus on your hobby. But nowadays, the hobby is actually making us money. But going back to the discussion that we are having, it's very interesting because everybody now is being forced to think of an alternative. And the alternative has to be content creation that you can live stream or you can put on your channel, whether it's YouTube, your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So even as you sat at home, you know, you wake up, you shower, you travel to the sitting room.
You travel to the
sitting room. You travel to the world. You go to the airport via screen. Like FS was saying, I mean, you've watched too much content online until you're thinking. Then all of a sudden people thought, okay, I think if I live stream something, I'll get my audience. So you have 1 million followers on probably your Instagram or Facebook. Then you live stream the event and then you have 200 guys watching. Or you have 1,000. So it doesn't translate. So on the music side of things or on the entertainment side of things, then some 2 sports guys decide to have a chat and they have 1 million plus. So the new normal is real for many of us.
Right.
If we do not go back to normal, the big question to each one of us who is used to what they've done over years. I mean, as me and my wife, we run a company called Kate Chris Limited. So Kate Chris, we manage events. We manage conferencing, manage concerts. That's what we are good at. And I'm happy what Efesi said. Right now, I've added weight also. I don't think I am as fit, because when you're managing an event, you need to be...
There's a lot of running around.
There's a lot of running around. Your drill needs to be, your fitness level needs to be at a rugby level guy, you know, the way they do, or a military person.
So at the moment, where are you at in terms of, if not rugby?
I think I am at the bank.
Ya kukaa tu na kuhesabu pesa.
Yeah, behind the teller, and I don't go to the gym. Because even the gym, I tried, I wake up sometimes and walk. So I try and say, I will walk 5 kilometers. Then you find yourself breathless.
Okay.
So it's, the new normal is not easy, but I think, like someone said somewhere, out of this, a lot of ideas will come on how. We've just realized that what we are used to might not necessarily be able to give us an income.
Okay. Now, Festo, how are you adapting with business moving away? So what are you doing now with your camera? Unaitumiaje kujipanga nayo?
So right now, it's funny how for the longest time in the arts industry, if let's say someone is a musician, so apart from music, what else do you do? Now we took up that as a challenge and decided let's get into arts. Like when you say to do music, you do it fully, so that you avoid those questions. When you get into photography, like I did, decided to do it fully and measured mostly on events, corporate events, small functions, weddings, and all that, and then a few personal shoots. So with all that moving away, now we are going back to the drawing board and evaluating what else can I do. For example, for me, I did in school I did radio production, but then after that I did not feel doing radio anymore. So I taught myself. I got myself into photography. So right now I'm thinking of going back to what I studied. My camera right now, I think probably like I retired or something. But
is it gathering dust now?
For the dust. Just looking for new ways to get an income. That's all.
Okay, Festo, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning, all the way from Kitengela. You have yourself a good day. Keep safe. Keep your mask close to you. Asante sana kwa the discussion. Maria, let me come to you. You said that you are now adapting to, I don't know, holding virtual conferences or events. How does that work exactly?
So as a lot of people have said, we've had to all go back and re-strategize and figure out now what's a new normal, because things may not be normal for the next couple of months or even years. So we have had to now also move into live streaming, which is something now we are doing as a company. And actually, speaking of which, this morning we're actually doing our first event at the University of Nairobi. So we are doing our first live streaming event. So it's been interesting, learning new things, getting into technology. That's where everyone is now. And as Kira said, my colleague, we are all used to running events and planning them and conceptualizing them and executing them physically. But now we have to learn how to do them virtually. So that's where we are as a company.
I suppose the challenge is we now have death by webinar, death by virtual conferences, and so on.
Yes.
How is that affecting you?
We've just had to strategize. Now we've had to sit down with my partners and figure out what kind of new content can we develop, or how can we sell our event expertise now online in a virtual way. So it's been quite a challenge for sure, but we are getting there. We have to learn and relearn a couple of things.
Now, looking at life post-COVID, are there things that now that we've gone through this pandemic, you might want to do differently once this health crisis is over?
Most definitely, yes. As I said, we're actually saying the event feature now is hybrid. So we'll have to get into the digital space. and still hopefully maintain the physical touch of the event and the experiences. Because as we know, we are social beings, so we'll still have to socialize at some point and get back together. We don't know how long that will take, and even if we do the same way, we know security and safety is a big deal in the events industry. So we might have to incorporate masks, incorporate sanitizers in our events. So yes, a couple of things will change, and I also hope as an events agency, we'll also be able to come up with bespoke solutions for us, for our clients and for our customers.
Okay, and to you, Dina, as a wedding planner, a lot of people are using this as a time of reflection. What has COVID-19 taught you? What have you learned about yourself and the nature of your business as a result of COVID-19?
Definitely, there's a lot of business continuity that I need to think about. As we've said, probably this is our new norm. So if this is our new normal, we could be doing 15 wedding attended physically by 15, but we have to go on a digital platform and reach the other hundreds. So this is a time to think and re-strategize, as my colleague has said, and think about what if this is our new normal? What if we are here for 5 years, 10 years? Does it mean people stop doing weddings? No. So it's embracing technology and investing in new ways as a business and as a person.
Now, Diana, I have to be a little bit harsh on you now. People are getting used to 40K weddings with 10 guests. Si biashara ndio inaisha hivyo after COVID.
I know, but fortunately, we are all going through COVID. So even you as my client, you understand that this is our new norm. We are going to bring in technology. So that's now the shift. We have to shift to the digital platforms. So yes, it could bring changes in pricing, but we have to adapt as a client and as a service provider.
Okay. Yafesi, I know you've spent 2 years during this pandemic thinking about your own life. Sasa, after COVID, what are your reflections telling you in terms of how you adjust haya mambo yakiisha?
Wow. First of all, I think one of the biggest things I've noticed personally throughout this period is when it comes to art, there was a lot of diversity in the arts, and there are people who are artists for the sake of being artists. There are those who are, they're just doing stuff because, hey, there's a way of making money here. But now imagine trying to release a song talking about the club. As in, is that relevant now? Is it current now? And a lot of the things, when you strip away all the lights and the razzmatazz and all the dazzling stuff and hiding behind the audience noise, now the authenticity of the artist and the voice of the artist is becoming clearer. So do you have something to say? And now is the time to reflect on that. What is my unique voice? What do I bring to this whole artist tapestry? And so for me, that's what I've been trying to do. So even the YouTube channel that you've shown, it's a conversation that we have with my superstar wife. Shout out to her, by the way. Yeah. So those are some of the conversations we have about the reality of living in the arts and the perception surrounding it. So we decided to just put that out there as part of the thing. And that is probably our most well-received material in a while. So that's one thing that I'm realizing. The authenticity of the art will come more to the fore than just the fact that there is art.
And Yafesi, for you who is lucky to have your spouse sharing, in the same industry as yourself, that means for you working from home ni normal?
Well, there are also children to consider. So sometimes working from home has certain adjustments that we have to make. And so there's still that balance. You're still parents. You can't punish the kids for what is going on out there or the lack of business and all. So you still have to find a way to incorporate them into your world, because as much as we talk about new normal, we focus a lot on the business side of that, but we still have the family side. There's the mental health aspect, because it's not expected that artists will just come back to normal, like, woo, we'll shine again as we used to, because there's some who've been really hit hard by this mentally. So they may not be in the same kind of space. You might be two artists living in the same house, and you respond to the crisis in different ways. and yet you're still expected to work together. And so that can bring conflict sometimes. And so that's also one of the things that you adjust to, the real human toll of working from home, not having an income, the uncertainty, and still having obligations.
Okay. Asante, to you as well. You know, you are laughing away, Chris, as...
Because FS is bringing out very, very interesting things that we guys also have been seeing happening. Most of the time when we organize a concert, there has been a tendency of one, us as event organizers not keeping time. Two, the audience that we've invited not keeping time. Now, with all of us being forced to go on digital platform, meaning we will invite a few people to this concert venue, and we have told people will begin at 8. Dare you begin at 8:15? You'll find yourself and those people who you invited as the only audience, because people will switch off, because people program their lives. If you say this thing is starting at 8, Olympics opening ceremony is beginning at 8, it's not 8:05, it's supposed to be 8. Then, with that in mind, what is the quality of the broadcast? So days of not taking seriously your AV, your sound engineers, your lighting, your stage design are going to go away. If you look at this place, the stage design is well thought of, even the chair that I'm sitting on. So we guys as event organizers, including...
So there are people who are behind the scenes who are never in the limelight, but now this is...
It's now being broadcasted to the entire world. So you cannot afford to cut corners. You cannot afford to start late. You cannot afford to have a performance that is not, you know, it's not interactive, it's not quality. So all of us now have to go back and look at ourselves and say, what have I been doing? In terms of safety protocols, of course, the document is being drafted by government in partnership with a lot of stakeholders. So even us as event organizers are involved in that. So when that document now is unleashed, of course, an inspector will just check into your event. And if they realize that you're not observing the safety and security protocols, you might find your event being cancelled. So you can imagine the cost. So the cost of safety and security, and this is a joke I always have, that when you look at the item list of an event, food and alcohol is normally 1, 2. I am seeing that being replaced all of a sudden. Safety and security will be number 1, maybe digital.
Food is much lower down.
Yeah. And then food will be much lower down. Think about it. In my entire life, I've never thought that one day safety and security will be number 1 consideration in an event. It is in most organizations, because companies that have, departments they call SHE, of course, they focus on that. But there is always a fight between departments, marketing and PR, looking at that and saying, do we really need to put a lot of the budget in that? Right now, I'm sure at a CEO table somewhere, the budget being placed on that table, safety and security is number 1.
Yeah. The priorities have
changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'll go into a minute with all you guys to see how we go about bringing back events safely. But first, let's look at what you have been saying to us on our hashtag New Normal. And we asked you, question of the day, between weddings, concerts, nyama choma, hangouts, get-togethers and clubbing, which event do you miss the most? And this is what you've been saying to us. Amutishem, I miss nothing else other than gathering in the house of the Lord. Indeed, that too is a social gathering that has been taken away. Victoria Matilda anasema, I miss my job. I need to make money, no time for luxuries. Indeed, that's a lot of priority for a lot of people. Lucy Sekete, going to work. How can I party without money? So priority to tafute pesa kwanza. Edwin Chebon, football, period. Okay, and Lawton James anasema hugs. Okay, hii mambo ya masks, mambo ni ngumu. Edmund Gashao, clubbing bana. That's what I miss the most. Okay, and Brio Ndege, you say, I miss freedom of doing whatever I want, anything I want. Please open Kenya. Tutasikia kama utasemaji kesho. Excellency Abdash, I miss the freedom of movement which was promised in our constitution. I miss the social outings and all that relates to get together. Corona ishindwe kwa jina la maombi. Asante Abdash, na umeongea hapo kwa nguvu. Ken Rose Motho, none of the above. Personally, I just miss going to church on Sunday. Yes, many people do. And then Pesh Mukami, freedom of movement. So people are feeling really restricted and constrained. And another one here from Beatrice Adhiambo, I miss everything. Yani yoyote tumetaja and a lot more. Okay, Okay, so today we're looking at the world of events, entertainment, the creative industry, how it's been impacted by COVID-19 and what the repercussions have been for the people involved, the artists, the events planners, and so on. Now, with my panel today, I am asking you to help me, to help us, to help our government see how they can reopen this space safely. I want to start with you, Dina. Going forwards, the government is now considering a lot of things in terms of how education comes back. For this particular sector, for you specifically, maybe weddings, how would you like to see weddings come back as an event and conducted safely?
Honestly, we can only support the government in what it sees right for us as a people, because as we see, COVID is affecting even us as service providers. So we need to come up with measures that will ensure that we are all safe, whether it's the client or service providers, because with COVID, if I get sick, then we don't have an event. So we need just to come up with stringent measures on social distancing, on sanitizing, on the number of people that can be in an event safely, and ensure that everyone is safe. We can only support the government in the measures that they come up with and embrace technology. Technology is very important in this time.
Are you hopeful that weddings as events or as gatherings might come back soon?
Honestly, we can only hope they do. I'm not sure they will, because if, for example, you're saying on 6th we are awaiting disappointment, let's hope that the economy is opened up. Would you be open to attend an event?
And why not? We're having one now, although in virtual.
Yeah, exactly. Virtually we feel safe. I'm not wearing a mask, I'm social distancing, but physically attending a wedding would be something that will take time, even the attendees, the invited people, to feel comfortable to attend a wedding. So it's going to take time. We can't just go back to normal and our wedding is next Saturday and 500 people show up, because we also have the fear as a person. So am I willing to attend a wedding where there are 500 guests? Do I know if the measures will be enough? Will I come in contact with someone who's unwell? So it's going to take time. So we can only hope that it comes back soon, but we support the government in whatever measures it deems fit for this time, because it's a learning curve for everyone globally.
And for you, Yafesi, as an artist, how would you like to see this space open up again safely?
Well, there are a number of things to consider. We also have to be aware of the fact that the safety procedures and safety measures are there for a reason. We can't really hide away from that. So we won't just blindly go out and gather crowds. But as we're using right now online spaces and such things to reach out to our fans, a lot of what affected us when the shutdown came was even the dropping of sponsorship. So even advertisers just pulled back completely. So events that they were, you might have been in a partnership for a year or beyond, and it was just shut down until further notice. Right now, these efforts that artists are, people are just engaging in some sorts of ways online, try and plug into those, support these artists, so that at least they can eat. The thing with artists is it's as long as you have food and a place to sleep, you can pay your bills. Creativity is never the problem. We'll come up with all sorts of things, but if you're fighting between creativity and food, and if you invest in this side, then you miss out on this and these obligations, then it brings in a sort of fear and second guessing. So right now, as artists are even exploring these new grounds, or the new normal, as everyone's calling it, they also need to be supported so that can also be elevated. You never know, it might be a really big thing. Even the platforms might find a way to expand their capacity to incorporate live interactions back and forth. So you can have hundreds of people live there, joining in and reacting live as you go. You never know how technology will take it. But even as we're going out there, do we have backing? Do we have support from the corporates? Because they've been making money. I'm still having to pay for the milk and bread. I've not been given a discount, an artist or superstar discount, if there's such a thing. And so how do the corporates plug in? So that one would be interesting for us. We will continue as artists. We'll take that responsibility to try and find new and creative ways. Like even with Because You Said So, we have a show this weekend online. So that's one thing we're trying, and we're trying to do it differently from how we did the last time, because we're trying to improve, just constantly trying to improve. So as we take that responsibility, do we have backing? Do we have the support of the corporate world and all the ones who used to actually help put up these events?
Oh, okay. Maria, same question to you in terms of organizing conferences and such events, meetings and so on. How soon and what do you feel needs to be done to get us back on our feet?
As my colleague has said, Dina, we are definitely going to support the government measures and whatever they feel is fit for our country especially. Yes, we miss the social gatherings, we miss doing that which we are passionate about, but we also have to realize that we are talking about lives here. These are people's lives, so we can't just move back and say, okay, we are open and we're going to do conferences the next month. It's not going to happen. So we have to be very purposeful in exactly what we decide to move on with. As we are all saying, the new normal, we still have to adapt and to shift into the digital space. We might have to now incorporate virtual conferences, the clients, and especially for us, our corporate clients. In every event, we have to justify the ROI, the return on investment. So how do we then move that also to the online space? So those are the things that we are saying we need to re-strategize. We need to come up with bespoke solutions. And lastly, we definitely need to do a lot of partnerships. And the same way we are saying, for us, we were not in the digital space before. We were purely in the social gatherings, in the social spaces. So right now, we've had to partner with a company which is solely or fully in the digital world. So we need to do a lot of partnerships that will help us to move forward, that will help us to adapt the new technology. So that way, we still have a source of income and we are still able to feed our families and to support our businesses.
And Maria, if I can put you on the spot for a minute.
Yes.
According to you, how soon do you think things will open up again for conferences, according to you?
Wow. I remember we had that discussion at the reception with my colleague Kiro, and you're saying, hopefully, fingers crossed, and if just magically things happen, maybe September, maybe December, maybe next year. We actually don't know.
But there's a possibility this year is just gone.
There's a possibility this year is gone. We have to have that at the back of our minds.
What? Kiro, you're looking quite serious now, so thanks, Maria.
You see, every day I watch CS Mutahi Kagwe give his daily briefings, or his team. Something that catches me a lot is 1 minute he will come when he's a bit happy because maybe the numbers are reducing, or 1 minute he will come and blast us and Kenyans will like, Mutahi anatusomea. Now, with that in mind, I want you to imagine a situation whereby tomorrow they open up and say, okay, wedding industry, creative, everyone, let's try and see what you guys will do. Now, the personal responsibility by me as an event organizer at Kate Chris Limited, you as the suppliers that are third-party suppliers that have brought on board, the venue, all of you, the artists, how will you behave? Will you be strictly following the laid down social distancing guidelines, or rather the safety protocols in place? Because they will send their people. The government will send their people. They will send TRA, for example. They will send KEBS. They will send all these agencies that are tasked with the responsibility to ensure that people are safe in gatherings like that. Being experiential people, we will be happy to have people in our events. But what kind of safety protocols will I be putting in place as me, as provided to ensure that everybody
is that
safe.
something you've given some thought to? What if you are told, okay,
Yes.
from next month or next week,
Yeah.
we can have this back, but what would you do at a personal level?
I will work with less numbers. I will have more people from my side, and their work is to monitor and to guide and to ensure people observe the strict guidelines that will ensure that nobody walks out of there either or passes through the safety net, and they are infected and they get in. So you can imagine. So the way I see it is, if in the medical world we can have a quick, you come, I scan you, and I know you're infected.
Right.
And I'm able to isolate you. That is what we are looking at. But still, with the current safety protocols that are in place, and we are selling alcohol. So your favorite artist has checked on stage. Will you still be social distancing, or you'll be jumping up, hugging people, and you go to the washroom?
It's quite a challenge.
It's crazy. Think about it. How many washrooms do I need? If initially I normally have 8, maybe now I need 28. So the cost goes up. So because once somebody has gotten in, I have to, first of all, sanitize the place. Imagine, and I think my colleague Nani Maria will agree, I will need to have maybe 3 stages.
Okay.
So you are performing on this stage, you finish, then I shut it down, I fumigate, I sanitize. As the other stage kicks off, that one is finishing, I have another artist on this other stage. You can imagine the cost.
It's going to be a very expensive.
Yeah, it's going to be a very expensive.
And also a logistical nightmare.
Yes, because everybody walking into that place, if it's artists, for example, performers, speakers, key speakers in conferences, they will have to have their own space. The same way I'm having my own space here.
Right.
So initially here we will sit 3 people and we are comfortable, but we now can't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Now, South Korea's largest film awards, the Daejeon Awards, are held despite the coronavirus pandemic. The acclaimed film Parasite, which won the Academy Award Best Picture, was nominated in every category.
네, 다음으로 입장하고 계신 분은 오늘 여우조연상 후보이신 이정은 배우님이십니다. 그래도 주변 받으시나요?
Okay, now let me come to you, Dina, for a moment. I also needed to ask you, according to you, when do you think weddings will be back? Hello, Dina.
Oh, sorry. Hi.
Hi. We lost you for a moment. I just wanted you to look at your crystal ball and tell us, when do you think weddings will be back, according to you?
Weddings are still going on, but the
events,
weddings we are used to, the big weddings, sometime next year. Honestly, next year.
Does that mean you've written off this year?
Looking at it, we're in June. Before you plan a wedding, I don't see any wedding happening before early next year. The normal, quote unquote, what we were used to as normal weddings, next year. This year, I don't see as having what was our normal, but weddings are still going on as we speak.
So when you say this year is now gone, what does that mean for you and your business and your revenues?
It means there's no revenue from that stream of events, wedding planning. So you have to think out of the box. You have to, as you think out of the box, you're also investing in this other side of adapting to the new norm. So yes, that's the reality we are working with right now.
Okay. And to you, Yafesi, I know you as an actor, but not as a witch doctor. But if I want to ask you to predict, when do you think we will have live performances back?
Okay, now I think what will have to happen is at some point we'll have to redefine what live performance means. In some cases, it's possible. I don't know. I just got this picture of, like Chris mentioned, what you might have 3 stages, but in like an ensemble kind of performance, like Because You Said So, or if you're a band or something like that. I mean, you could do the social distancing on stage, but for the audience, I mean, you might have spaced out seats, or you might have seating outdoors, and so you invest more in screens and that experience. I don't know how that will look, but as it is, I know there is such a desire to get back into live performances and live gigs, and Kenyans are resilient. If the moment it's mentioned that it's possible to have a live gig, guys will just come. They will come. They will be there. However, now we'd have to, as much as it hurts us, we may have to limit the numbers, or we may have to restrict the lengths of shows, and also, like with regards to tents and domes and venues, we have to allow for a lot of all that spacing, and like facilities like washrooms, sanitizing. Will they have masks in the audience? Things like that. Those are realities we have to deal with, and that might go well into December at least.
And so, as Chris was saying, do you also agree that entertainment might end up being quite a costly affair in the future?
Yes, it already is quite costly as it is right now, but it will end up being costly in the future. But the sacrifice will be most likely on the side of some of the little, the nice additions that we put together when we are trying to do a performance. You've seen a lot of artists now able to hold your attention and put in a good performance with just a guitar. When before they'd need a screen, they'd need fireworks, they'd need all sorts of things. But now there's a lot more. This is where it comes to your personal content, your messaging, your ability to hold the audience's attention, meaning how real or how relatable is your content. So you work more on your content now so that you give the audience value, because there'll be less to hide behind because of the cost of production that will go up.
And for you, Chris, have you written off 2020?
I think it will be dependent again on us. Let me talk like a wedding planner, although we don't do weddings. When you send out invitations and you tell guys, okay, please make sure you come with a card, and the card allows 1 or 2. You know what happens? Guys just turn up. So if people do that, you just want to crash into somebody's wedding, what about social distancing? So looking forward, I see the decision of whether we will open up and go back to normal is dependent on us as event organizers and the audience attending our events. The government will be watching. Are you guys following the laid down protocols, or do we need to shut you down further for your own safety?
So in short, the lead up time that's required to organize an event is just not there.
You see, I think, you see, I'm loading equipment. Before we will just load very quickly, and we will be struggling with our guys who don't want to wear safety boots, don't want to wear gloves, don't want to wear a crash helmet. Now, I will want to know that this guy, when he came from home, is actually safe to come and interact with everybody else. And that this equipment that we are loading into our trucks, and the food, and the decor, and the flowers, and the drinks are actually safe. They have not been contaminated. Then they reach the venue, then now we have to actually now do another check of that. And then there is no way, because most of the time when you're building up for a concert, things can go, the construction can be simultaneous. So you have suppliers setting up the VIP areas, others are setting up the stage, they're setting up the backstage, the security areas, the vendors are setting up. Now you have to do it in phases. There is no way you'll have everybody coming in. So to just try and maintain the social distancing. So most of the time you find in an event we have like 200, 300 guys working simultaneously. Maybe you have to 100. So there's still a lot of discussions, and then
and things that need to be
and then since this thing is affecting the entire world across, whoever will do it in Spain or Cape Town or Madagascar for that matter, we will pick learnings from them and see how they managed. So there will be a lot of interaction and a lot of discussions. Now it's no longer about us here in Nigeria Nigerians are actually looking forward to see what are Kenyans doing and can we pick up from them.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Now, speaking of ways to do alternative events in Romania, an open-air cinema is organized in the city of Snago, 40 kilometers north of Bucharest. On the day, the government eases virus restrictions and reopens terraces, museums, and allows outdoor concerts and shows. Some 50 cars are parked in front of the giant screen in Snagov, where a movie for children is projected as a way to celebrate Children's Day. All tickets were previously bought online, as well as snacks and drinks, which are bought by the staff to every car window. Spectators have their temperature checked when arriving, and the Romanian Gendarmerie is present to make sure physical distancing rules are respected. So, Maria, we're seeing here in this video from Romania how they've had to be a little bit innovative in, in terms of how to get life back to normal. What are your thoughts?
Wow. I'm perplexed, especially coming from that world and having actually done a couple of award-winning events for kids in the past. And thinking of how interactive it was and the number of kids I had in one space. Then when we are now reduced to that and taken back to now kids watching a movie in a car, is it the same experience? Of course not. Yes, there's still the excitement of being outside and having an open air movie, but the experience is completely different.
So what to do?
I don't know. Lord have mercy.
Lots for words. For you, Dina, there isn't much you can do with a wedding. You need a venue, you need priests, you need the witnesses, and that's it, really. So I don't know how innovative you can get with in terms of organizing weddings.
Well, as Chris has said, nothing much will change about the venues, the size of the venue. So if you need all those service providers working at the same time, it's going to be a challenge. The venues remain the same. So if you're holding a wedding in a garden wedding and that garden wedding was, the garden itself is 1 acre, that doesn't change. So what happens to gate crashers, as Chris said? What happens to my own people who need to come and ensure that people are observing the government directives? Because that also increases the number. So in terms of creativity on weddings, it's, as we say, learning curve. We see what the other people in other places will do. And then we see if us as Kenyans will adopt a new culture and learn that with COVID, this is it, it's card only, it only admits one. Then that means you can only come as one person. Whether you're the first cousin and you're not invited, please stay home. If you can stay home and we digitally televise this wedding and you can watch from home, please stay home. We have to change our culture. You know, the culture of enjoying the dance in the wedding and hugs and just,
but Dina,
bride anione nilikuja. You know, that needs also to change in our mindset as Kenyans.
But Dina, the beauty...
there's not much we can do in terms of creativity as a wedding planner, because you're limited in terms of space, in terms of what you can do. We can only adopt to new ways of doing things and accept this is the new norm.
Dina, I was just going to say, but the beauty of an African wedding is that I was there. I actually walked away with a piece of meat and some mokimo and I took it back home. Nilikuwepo, I was at that 5-star, 3-star hotel. You're going to deny us that?
Unfortunately, we have to, I think, send this cake by post, because the biggest issue is I missed a cake in your wedding. You know, that's the biggest drama ever. Yeah. So yes, we have to adapt to the new world that we are living in. What's the point of coming and carrying the mokimo and then you're going to quarantine? So you just accept we can send this mokimo via post and tuko sawa.
Well, okay, kweli ni new normal. Now, talking about food, we noticed a lot of you have been learning new recipes during this stay-at-home period. Baking, grilling, and many more delicacies are being served on your table. So we partnered with pishi.co.ke to bring you a weekly segment called Pishi Home Chef. How does it work? Well, all you have to do is cook a meal, any meal, or a meal that we give you as a challenge. Record a video or take photos and post it on any social media using the hashtag Pishi Home Chef. And if we like what you've made, you become the Pishi Home Chef of the Week. And don't forget, obviously, the ingredients and the whole process that you went through. Now, here's this week's Pishi Home Chef.
My name is Chef Sarah. Today I'm going to make breadcrumb chicken. I'll start by marinating my boiled chicken. I'll put a little bit of vinegar. Vinegar helps the chicken from bad smell. And then I have mixed spice. Just take a pinch of mixed spice. I put a little bit of black pepper, just a pinch. Soy sauce, sprinkle, and a pinch of salt. Soy sauce and salt helps the chicken to have better taste. You try to mix it so that it can be absorbed everywhere. From there, I'll take my chicken, put it in the flour. Remember, it's wheat flour. Make sure the flour coats everywhere. From the flour, you put in the eggs. Make sure the egg coats everywhere so that the breadcrumbs can coat evenly. From the egg, we put in the breadcrumbs. Oil is already on heat, which is already hot. Make sure it's hot. I think mine is already hot. I'll deep fry it. As I'm deep frying, it should be golden brown. Checking my chicken, make sure it's golden brown before you turn it. Make sure it cooks everywhere. As you can see, mine it's golden brown. I start with salad. This mixed salad. As I'm waiting my chicken to cook. Then I'm serving it with French fries. I've already made my French fries. Now I check my chicken if it's ready. Yeah, it's ready. Remove it from heat. Ready for service. Here, I plate it. This is my dish today. Breadcrumb chicken served with French fries and mixed salad.
Okay, we play those beautiful shots because we like to give you a tour of your country from the comfort of your home using our aerial camera. We'll tour the Kenya with you every single morning. Now, my panel for today, as we discuss how COVID-19 has impacted, the world of events and entertainment and the creative industry. Chris Kirwa, who's with me here in the studio, who's an MC and events organizer. We also, via Skype, are joined by Dina Maina, who is a wedding planner, and also Yafesi Musoke. You know him as an artist, comedian, a cast member of Because You Said So, and also Maria Nkumba, who is an event planner with the Xperia agency. Have I forgotten anybody? And now we're joined, Yafesi, did I introduce you? And then now we're joined by someone else, a fresh guest for this hour of the program, Mandisa Mashologu, who is the UNDP Deputy Resident Representative in Kenya. She is a development expert with a lot of experience, very passionate about women and children of Africa, and helping to realize our long-term SDGs, that is our development goals. So let me start with you, Mandisa. Good morning and welcome to Your World.
Thank you very much, and very happy to be with all of you today on this World Environment Day. The theme is definitely on biodiversity, and all of us globally are grappling with COVID-19 and looking at how we make sure that we adjust all of the work that we do for the national development priorities, specifically in Kenya, to make sure that we work towards the Sustainable Development Goals. So thank you very much for having me here with you today.
And now, normally on this World Environment Day, there will be festivities, there will be events to mark the day, but COVID has changed all of that.
Definitely, COVID has changed all of that, and one of the things that I think is very exceptional about us here in Kenya is that we have adapted very, very well. We saw how the pandemic was unfolding around the world, and with the first confirmed COVID access that we had and known, the government and development partners really worked to make sure that we can see how, learning from what was happening around the world, that we can curb and mitigate any impact. It has been very rough for all of us. I know that everybody is struggling within the country, but we are not doing the usual fanfare that we would have done to commemorate World Environment Day, but we understand that fundamentally, if we don't look at the environment and nature and everything else, and all of the other socio-economic impacts that this health pandemic is bringing upon us, that we certainly cannot survive. So it's not as big a fanfare as we would have had in other years as we commemorate this very important day, but now, we will survive.
Now, the effects of COVID-19 are going to be with us, not just Kenya, but Africa for years to come. What sort of plans does UNDP have to support countries like Kenya to recover, in terms of their development and their economy when this is over?
One of the critical things, of course, we are a development partner, and we have a clear mandate to stay in the countries that we serve. And under the Secretary General's UN socioeconomic response to COVID-19, UNDP has been designated as the technical lead to make sure that we support at a localized level the national country response to COVID-19. And I think Kenya has been very, very instrumental in ensuring that this is taken to the fore and making sure that we do not forget that as much as we need to prepare, respond, and recover, the country must also ensure that we do not forget that we are all collectively committed to the Sustainable Development Goals.
Now,
so UNDP is in the fore, working with the rest of the UN agencies within Kenya under the leadership of our resident coordinator to make sure that we're providing support on a health systems strengthening level, on ensuring that we are expanding and supporting the great work on social protection and impacts of livelihoods of colleagues, of communities, and ensuring that we are looking at how we can ensure that food security, especially in a context where we are also dealing with the locust infestation as well as the floods in the northern part of the country.
And just on that, if I may,
of these issues.
If I can come in briefly, just on that, you have your focus. You have a big focus on biodiversity, and I wonder what do you see as the linkages with the pandemic such as the COVID-19 that we're currently in?
Important linkage is to make sure that we must understand that we require a multi-sectoral approach. I mean, everybody is looking at COVID-19 as a health issue, and it is an immediate health system strengthening health issue. But we cannot just focus on that without recognizing that we need to prepare and respond to post-COVID-19 in terms of strengthening resilience and capacities of all of the communities that we are working with within Kenya. And I think we have a very, very unique situation here because it's not just COVID-19, as we say. We talk about a trilemma of COVID-19, locust infestation, floods as well. And the UN collectively has made sure that we are working with government, private sector, civil society to ensure that we can respond and leave no one behind, to make sure that we put systems in place and make sure that all of these issues are addressed in a collective manner.
Okay,
we cannot just sit there and just say COVID-19 stop everything.
Okay.
So we are working together in that respect.
Now, Mandisa, finally, as a last thought, we appreciate that there may be no events to mark the World Environment Day, but what's your big message for the day?
My big message for the day is that we should stay safe, try and stay home as much as we can, and make sure that we don't take this as a crisis, but as an opportunity to make sure that we can come out of this better and continue to work towards the Sustainable Development Goals that we all agreed upon globally, and in which Kenya was fundamentally part and parcel of making sure that we all agreed to.
Okay, and just before I let you go, normally there will be tree planting, this kind of activities. So what's happening now?
Well, what's happening now? You would have not been with me. You would have been with our resident representative, Mr. Walid Badawi.
Yes.
But even working within the confines of our regulations as defined by government and His Excellency President Kenyatta, the Cabinet Secretary and our resident representative are on their way to Turkana to commemorate the World Environment Day and ensure that, this is not about addressing the issue at the central level, but we need to make sure that we leave no one behind, and we work closely with the county and subnational governance structures to ensure that we take care of the environment, and also ensure that we look at the critical development challenges that COVID-19 will not derail us against.
Okay. Mandisa Mashalogu, thank you very much indeed for appearing on our program to share those thoughts from the UNDP on this World Environment Day. Have a good day and keep safe as well. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Please keep safe as well.
Thank you. Now, moving across the border in Tanzania, as much as things seem to be back to normal, they really are not for artists, especially those that relied on international travel for their income. Flights have been banned, but the artists are now looking for new avenues to ply their art, like Alawi Tad. Take a look.
It's his normal preparation routine for another class for Tadi Alawi, a yoga instructor. But things are not normal anymore. Usually, he would be in an outside studio with a class of 30 or more people, or traveling the world with several scheduled performances. Now, his new normal is conducting virtual classes indoors.
Very good. And high to low push-up, all the way to high to low push-up.
Kabla ya corona, mimi nilitakiwa nisafiri kuelekea Rwanda na kusafiri kuelekea Ireland. Nilikuwa nina safari ya kuelekea Ujerumani. Hivyo vitu vyote, hizo safari zote zimefungwa na zingine zimekuwa cancelled na zingine zimepostponed. Zimeniathiri sana kwa maana kwamba siwezi tena kusafiri, siwezi tena kupata exposure, siwezi tena kupata kazi za sanaa, siwezi tena kupata connection na watu wengine tofauti. Lakini pia sisi mazoezi yetu waga tunafanya kwa wiki, nafanya kuanzia Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa. Na Jumamosi na Jumapili ni siku ambazo za kupumzika sisi wenyewe binafsi. Lakini sasa hivi tunaweza kusema tunabeza, yani kwa hilo ni neno la Kiswahili ambalo halina translation, lakini hatuna mwelekeo mzuri wa kufanya mazoezi. Kuna siku tunaweza tukakutana, kuna siku hatuwezi kukutana. Kwa hiyo hatuna siku maalum. Tangu kipindi cha corona kimeingia, tumekuwa ni watu tu wa kuzania tunaweza tukafanya afu.
Tanzania has one of the best media and entertainment industries in Africa. In 2018, the sector was worth close to $600 million. Entertainment and media was worth $598 million in the same year. The entertainment industry is feeling the impact of the corona pandemic. Popular entertainment joints like this one have shut down indefinitely due to a ban on public gatherings. Concerts and music festivals have also had to be cancelled.
Hapa ni sehemu ambayo hata Contemporary Dance Night tukio letu nilifanya hapa. Ni sehemu ambayo inakutanisha wa dancers tofauti na hata wanamuziki pia. Hili ni jukwaa la wanamuziki kama unavyoona. Kwa hiyo hapa chini ni jukwaa letu. Unajua kazi zetu za sanaa za miondoko ya dance ni kazi kubwa pana na isiyokuwa na hatarishi kubwa sana. Kwa hiyo kumekuwa na sasa hivi kumekuwa kimya na pako na vumbi, lakini natumaini soon inaweza ikafanya kazi tukarudi tena.
Despite the massive COVID-19 disruption to the industry, many artists here are trying their best to remain sane. Many musicians are giving free concerts online. Artists are holding on to hope. They are finding new ways of making an impact. The simple fact is, this act will not break their act. The show must go on online. Tulanana Bohela, NTV, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Thank you very much, Tulanana, for that report from Dar. Now, Gamers Without Borders, the biggest esports charity event in the history of gaming, has reached the end of its 5th online professional esports tournament. Counter-Strike Global Offensive last night with participating teams donating their $1.5 million winnings to charities leading the fight against COVID-19. The charitable esports event, which started on April 22nd, hosts one international elite tournament weekly across different gaming as some of the best esport teams on the planet compete against as the winning teams donate their prize money to charity. Total donations exceeded $8 million.
Power of esports as a community to do good, not just compete against each other, but to come together. And the gaming community, both from the professionals to the general community who just like to game and watch, to the social media stars, to the the retired professionals, they all came together to really get behind this, and it's been really really amazing to see.
It's a great opportunity for us to get in there and obviously help people that are not as comfortable as us right now. So gamers don't really get the chance to do this that often too. So this is the first chance that I myself, probably Sean also, that are playing for like charity. So it's definitely for a great cause, and I'm looking forward to it a lot.
Moscow's Hippodrome resounds with a clatter of sulkies as horse racing is the first sports competition authorized to resume in the Russian capital. The races are closed to the viewing public but broadcast live. Located in the heart of Moscow, the Hippodrome sees the races follow one another in cathedral-like silence, punctuated only by the cries of the jockeys. And Alexander Losev, head referee, says we don't have an opportunity to hold events with spectators due to the coronavirus pandemic. That's why the stands are empty now, but the horses are getting ready for the season in April. That we had some qualification races. Jockeys were working with horses and believed in a positive outcome. And in May, we started races as the horses can't stay in the stables. They're not cars that you put in the garage. He also added that jockeys are like artists, and for them, it's like performing live without an audience. When a jockey sees crowded stands, he feels encouraged. His adrenaline increases. He has extra motivation. So when he sees the stands and hears the people, it's a different story. Andrei Vilkin, a jockey, says, we're trying to take care of ourselves and we keep social distancing by 1.5 meters during the race. But it doesn't affect us as much as because it's not us, but the horses that are running, and they don't catch coronavirus, so it's all good. Catch their closing thoughts. Dina, in 10 seconds, your final thoughts, your final reflections, briefly.
Let's keep safe. Let's keep sanitizing, keep distance. It's a passing phase. It's all going to pass. We've come out of worse situations, and we are going to come out better. So there's hope. There's hope.
There is hope. Okay. Yafesi, I'd prefer you perform your final comments. Sorry, unmute. We can't hear you. Kumbe, you muted your mic on me. I apologize for asking you to perform live.
Oh,
now we can hear you. Now we can see you. Go away.
Hey, Maze,
Go
after
on.
I'd unleashed a whole performance, y'all, maybe we needed this COVID, y'all, because now we are co-videoing together to connect, y'all. Hey, wow. Okay, I'm not a spoken word artist, but seriously, maybe we did need this period, and we just need to grow with it, because it's unnatural for a living thing to not grow. So just grow.
Yeah, first we need to get you a live audience. Maria, we'll not ask you to perform. What are your final thoughts? Maria, we can't. Okay. Kirwa.
Yes.
Your closing thoughts.
I think if there's something COVID has robbed people, I was laughing about the mutura. You see, with this curfew thing, akunaga kitu tamu kama mutura kwa giza. So 7 p.m. is robbing that. On our part, how we are coping, I think that's something I didn't say. We've started a directory of some sort. So what we are doing, we are going around filming event venues and showcasing its ability to host events. And then now, so if you go to our YouTube channel, you don't need to actually travel to an event venue. You go to the channel and see what that is. So we had started, then stopped. But we realized since the events are not happening and the venues are free,
you need to.
So we are filming, and so you can all catch us there.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Maria, in 10 seconds, your closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts is that I'm hopeful for the new normal. I'm hopeful for what the future holds. And I choose to believe that even in this pandemic, in everything that is happening, that is something we've all learned. We've learned to be resilient, we've learned to be more innovative, we've learned to embrace technology. So I'm definitely looking forward to what the future holds for the event and entertainment industry.
Okay, thank you so much, Maria, Chris, Yafesi, Dina, and all those who joined us. Just before we go, a quick look at what you've been saying to us on our hashtag New Normal. These are some of your thoughts on what you missed the most. Pretty H, you say clubbing. Okay, you imepata kura nyingi sana. Mohammed, you say Friday prayers at the mosque. Okay. And Sophia unasema none. So happy I don't have to come up with excuses to miss, cut out some words there, but to miss something. Okay, and this is from Sheikh Mansour, clubbing and making money. Okay. Another thought here from Mondia Kelvin, who says Nyamachoma Hangouts and EPL. Thank God EPL is coming back soon. Mono Abdul, going to the mosque, you missed that too. Okay. And Wandera Vincent, I miss serving God from church, going to work and traveling around the country doing business. You're Temismama, unfortunately, because of COVID. Jamil Hassan, you people, do you know how much we miss traveling? Sawa, nakubaliana. Kabisa. Kipkurui Rono nasema watching football with friends and playing also. Okay, another that has come to a stop. And another one here from King Nari, clubbing and getting together. Okay, so now on Monday, Gladys will be with you right here on Your World. She'll be looking at people living with special needs and how they're coping during this pandemic. So see you at 7 a.m. But before that, there's always a hot workout session kicking off 6:30 to 7, Monday to Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Have a safe, put your mask on, keep safe. Enjoy the weekend as it is, even without events. To my crew here and all colleagues at NTV, asanteni sana. Wish you the best.